Clinical trials generate massive amount of data, but what happens when something goes wrong? A protocol deviation, an audit finding, a safety signal? Do we just fix the symptoms and move on? But that is not acceptable in clinical research. In today's video, we are diving into one of the most powerful tools for improving trial quality and patient safety, that is root cause analysis. We'll break down what exactly root cause analysis means, why is it essential for every CRA, CRC and clinical research professional, and how you can use it to prevent issues before even they happen. Stay with me because understanding root cause analysis doesn't solve the problem, it builds better clinical trial. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and watch this video till the end. So let us begin by understanding what exactly is root cause analysis. So root cause analysis or RCA is a structured problem solving method which is used to identify the true reasons behind issues, deviations, protocol violation, data entry errors or safety events. So whenever we conduct clinical trial, there are multiple reasons why it could go wrong. There can be major issues, there can be protocol deviation, violations or even safety event at times, but it is very important that not only we focus on why the event happened, but we also solve the event, and that particular event needs to be solved only after identifying the true problems out of it, because until and unless you address the root cause of it, you are not going to solve the problem entirely, and the same mistakes can happen in the future. So in clinical trial, root cause analysis helps not only in solving the structured problem, but also ensuring that we have better subject safety standards, we have data integrity of whatever data we have generated through the clinical trial, and last but not the least, we ensure the compliance with ICH GCP sponsors SOP and the regulatory expectation. Again, by using root cause analysis, we not only identify what are the symptoms behind the problem, okay, what actually went wrong, but we also focus on the physical causes of it, that is what is the immediate reason for which the issues was observed, and last but not the least, the systemic causes. Okay, is there any issue in process, training or policy gaps that have allowed these issues to happen? Okay, so that is root cause analysis for you. But this particular root cause analysis or this particular problem solving method is not only restricted to clinical research, but even I use for my day-to-day issues also. Okay, and whatever techniques we are going to learn in this particular video are applicable directly to your day-to-day life, as well as it will make you an efficient clinical research professional. Okay, so let us understand more in detail. So why does root cause analysis have an impact on clinical trial? Okay, why does it matter for clinical trial? So first and foremost, you need to understand that whenever you conduct a clinical trial, it is a complex operational intensive activity. Okay, and this particular activities involve various stakeholders to act at the single time. Okay, which directly means that there are multiple variables that can lead to an error. Okay, now the major areas where we see errors or protocol deviation violation can be in informed consent process, in IP accountability, during any AE and SA reporting. Okay, again data collection and data entry, and the laboratory or sample handling. Okay, these are the major areas where you see the root cause analysis having an issue in clinical research. Now we have to understand that these are the major issue, but we need to focus on fixing this particular issue. Okay, and site often what did they do, or the hospital where the clinical trial is conducted, what they do is they go and fix that particular issue in a temporary manner, which is called as quick fix. Okay, but the issue with quick fix is that it only treats the symptoms, okay, but does not address the underlying problem. Okay, so whenever you have to apply the problem solving method, that is RCA, you need to have an effective approach towards it. Okay, so application of root cause analysis in clinical trial, why it matters? Because it prevents the deviation from repeating, it strengthens the site process, that why did the issue happen and how we can improve the process, followed by enhancing patients safety and trial reliability, because at the end of the day, whatever data is generated from your site, from the hospital, that data needs to be reliable so that we can submit it to the regulatory authority for marketing approval. Okay, that is why we need to reduce the audit and inspection finding whenever we conduct at the site, and build a culture of continuous improvement, so that not only we are going to face problem during the conduct of the clinical trial, but whenever we face any kind of problem, we are going to apply root cause analysis to ensure that these problems are not only fixed but understood at the deeper level, and that particular application of problem solving will determine how the problem is going to be repeated or not. Okay, so that is why an effective RCA helps prevent a lot of errors in the future also. Now, let us understand what exactly is this particular RCA approach. So, whenever you have to apply root cause analysis, there are five major areas or five major steps in solving a problem. Okay, so the first step is defining the problem. Okay, now it can sound a very simple thing to define a particular problem, but let me tell you that it is not. Okay, so whenever you have a problem, whenever you have a deviation, clearly describe what happened. Okay, so you need to segregate the problem, whether it is a deviation, it is an issue, or a safety event. Okay, you need to avoid vague statement, or you need to use the data, timestamp, and the document. Okay, so whenever you want to define a problem, please identify whether it is a deviation or an issue. Okay, because deviation and issue are two very separate things. Again, whenever you write the deviation, that deviation needs to be in detail. Okay, we need to use the data where the deviation occurred. We need to look at the timestamp when that particular activity happened, and we need to also refer to the documents. Okay, once we have clearly defined the problem, the next step is to understand the process. Why did the issue occur? Why did the problem occur? Okay, so we need to have a map or a flow chart. Okay, so that particular flow chart will clearly show the workflow. Okay, for example, if there is an SAE or there is a reporting flow for a particular problem, or if there is any issue in IP dispensation, so we will clearly understand the process. Okay, how is IP stored, how is IP dispensed, who dispenses IP, what is the process of accessing the pharmacy. Okay, because incorrect IP dispensation is an issue, but if you have the processes defined, and if the person did not follow the process, then you understand the root of the problem. Okay, but is there any issue in the process itself? Okay, that we can understand in the second step, where we understand the process. The third step would be identify possible causes. Now what we have done is we have defined the problem, we have understood the process. Now let us understand or identify what are the possible causes of it. Okay, to understand this, you use various tools such as 5 whys. Okay, so for example, what you can say is that I forgot to dispense the IP. Then you use the 5 why techniques. That why did you forget? I was overloaded with work. Why were you overloaded? Because there was no CRC. Why was there no CRC? Because they were not hired. Why were they not hired? Because budget was low. Why was the budget low? Because sponsor did not negotiate well. So you understand, it started with not dispensing IP, but when you use 5 why, it went to the core problem of it. Okay. Similarly, you can use the fishbone diagram, you can use the logic trees, you can use the change analysis, and identify both physical and the underlying systemic causes behind the issue. Okay, that is the third part of it. Fourth would be to collect and analyze the data. We need to review the logs, the timelines, the source documents, the training records, the emails, and validate the fact. Okay, we do not assume anything. Whenever we have to determine the root cause analysis, we collect the data and analyze whatever the facts are available. And last but not the least, once you identify that, you implement solution to it. Okay, there is mistake, the mistake has happened. Okay, it's not a blame game. Now we have to fix that particular mistake. So we select a solution that addresses the actual root cause. Okay, we do not have a temporary fix, we address the root cause of it, and we see whether the problem is repeating itself again. Okay, we also create a corrective and preventive action plan, that is kappa. Okay, and we track and evaluate for effectiveness. Okay, so whatever problem we select, that should address the root cause of it, and the root cause need not to be repeated in the future. Okay, so these are the five major areas of root cause analysis. So even if you have any kind of problem, any kind of issues in your personal life also, okay, or in your workplace also, you can use these 5 step of root cause analysis, and it will definitely gain you more insight or a better aspect to solve that particular problem. Okay, so that is about the 5 step RCA approach. Now, whenever it comes to clinical trial, we need to understand that implementing CAPA or corrective and preventive action is very, very important, because we do not have a major scope of improvement. By that, what I mean is that we have seen the problem, we have identified the problem, we have applied the root cause analysis. Now, what we need is the effective corrective and preventive action. Okay, so by example you will understand. So first, what you'll do is you will select a corrective action. Okay, you need to address the physical issue. For example, the retraining of a coordinator on EDC entry. There was an issue with EDC entry, and you have done a retraining of the coordinator. That is a corrective action. The preventing action can be to address the systemic cause. Okay, so for example, you implement a verification step for the data flow, which means that there is an additional step which needs the data entry operator to understand what data is to be entered. Okay, and that verification step in that particular data flow will be a preventive action to prevent any errors. Okay, again, in this particular process, the best practices would be to develop measurable corrective and preventive action, and which are the owners and what is the deadline of that particular activity, so that these activities are never repeated or the issues are never repeated. We need to validate the effectiveness and implementation of the kappa. Okay, followed by documentation of every aspect of the issue, so that we can clearly explain during the audit and inspection. And last but not the least, we share the learning across site, team and study. Okay, so if I find any particular issue at any particular site, we not only initiate kappa for that particular site, but we also train the other site as well, the other teams as well, so that such things never happen again. And you need to understand that root cause analysis is not about finding the blame, okay, who was the culprit, but it is about building better, safer and more reliable clinical research systems, so that we initiate a foolproof system which does not affect the other aspect of the clinical trial. Okay, so that we ensure the clinical trial is properly conducted as per the SOP, GCP and regulatory requirements. Okay, so that is about the implementation of root cause analysis and kappa in clinical research. So thank you for watching this video till the end. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, so that we can bring you amazing content and have motivation in the new year. Okay, so thank you so much for your subscription, and please stay tuned to the channel. Thank you.